Hi guys, this is episode number 290 and we are diving into the business model of speaking. My very good friend, and I'm so grateful to say that she's also an expert that comes into our ecosystem and works with our clients, Heather Sager, is back on the podcast again. And if you've ever wondered how to actually use stages to sell your programs on the backside, this is a very important episode for you to tune into. As you know, you can be a paid speaker. That is a different type of business model. We are not talking about that today. We are also not talking about being a speaker on podcasts, and we're not talking about being a speaker on summits. That is not what we're talking about here today. So I want to make sure that you're not showing up and being like, oh, I know this already. I give a free opt-in. That is not at all what we're saying on this show. In this particular episode, we are diving into the framework of how to get booked to speak and actually close deals in the process of communications with companies to sell your program on the backside of speaking, whether you're paid to speak or not. It's a really powerful episode. It's actually so powerful. And the framework that we're talking about scratches the surface of what Heather comes in and works with our clients on, especially our clients that have $1 million programs in our content, in our licensing their programs to companies and organizations. This is one of the powerful ways that we use to sell and license their programs to other companies, nonprofits, and even other businesses. So if you've been listening to the last couple episodes on licensing, you also should be listening to this because it's one of the methods we use to sell your licensed program. Again, Heather is absolutely amazing. I can't wait for you to get to know her if you've never met her before. At the end of this, you're going to know the 2 different types of speaking business models, and you're going to know the 3 steps and what you need to do to use the model that we're talking about here to sell your programs on the backside. It could be your course, could be your consulting, and it could be your licensed program or certification program. It's a powerful episode. Tune in with us. Let's go ahead and dive in. All right, everybody, welcome back with my friend Heather Sager. If you've been listening to the show for a while, you know that Heather is one of my favorite people to bring in here because we unpack strategies that you can instantly take to the bank, of which means taking to your business first, especially in regards to speaking. And so, Heather, it's been a bit since you've been on the show, but give everybody a quick update about what you've been up to in your business lately and all of the amazing action your clients are taking.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show, April. So the biggest new thing in my business, I think last time I was here, I had my podcast going for like a year and a half, and we just had a wonderful pivot. The new name of my podcast is now Hint of Hustle. And what I really focus on with entrepreneurs, teaching them with speaking, is I'm a huge believer that the time you spend on stage should give you more freedom and flexibility off stage. So I'm on a mission to help more entrepreneurs who are personal brands trying to make money with their information products, how to leverage stages so they get their time back. And that's what my podcast is all about.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And that's why we're saying, we're a match made in heaven for what we do. And it's really interesting because before we dive into what we're going to say here in a minute, I hear from so many entrepreneurs say they want to speak, but it just sounds so exhausting traveling around, being on this speaking quote unquote circuit, if you will. And that really isn't what they want in their business. So I'm very glad that we're talking about this today. So let's talk about the business of speaking, the business model of speaking as we dive into today's show. What should our listeners know about that?
Yeah. So exactly what you just said is a lot of people go down this path thinking, oh, speaking means I travel to conferences or organizations and I deliver keynotes and I could get paid very well for it. Which is very true. That's actually how I started full-time in my business. I jumped from the corporate space where I was planning multi-million-dollar events, bringing in the world's best speakers for my conferences. And I love what they were doing. And I knew I was really good on stages. So I thought I could do what they do. I decided I'm going to go out and become a professional speaker. And that's how I started. And very quickly, I realized that the professional speaker route was not giving me my time back because I was committed to organizations a year 18 months out for these contracts. Like my time was being booked even further out and I had multiple bosses versus just my old former boss. So I thought like, hold on, I love being on stages. I'm really good at it and I have really good messages to share. So there has to be a different way. So when it comes to speaking, I think most people think when they think professional speaking, they think professional means I'm going to get paid for my time on stage, which is that traditional speaking model, which most people end up hiring or bringing on like an agent or a speaker's bureau to have them book on their behalf to get on stages, which is really great when you want to get paid for your time on stage. So that is a very relevant business model. It's very profitable because the margins are low. You don't have to have a big team. A lot of professional speakers have a part-time assistant. And really what you need is a damn good talk and a system to book stages. That is what you need. Now to get started, like there's some other things with it, but that's one model. My clients that I work with, we operate off a different business model. And that is the model where instead of speaking being the product, you're using speaking to grow your products. So this is for if you're a coach, you're an entrepreneur who has digital courses, membership, consulting, you do any of those types of things with information products, and you want to make money off stage, we have to look at a different business model. And that's where you can still get paid to speak on stage, but that moment on stage opens far more opportunities, both with the organizations and with the audience.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we talk about behind the scenes. As some of you guys know, Heather is one of our experts that comes in and works with our clients at the Sweet Life Company because we're selling these game-changing, very valuable offers. And there's no better way to get in front of a perfect audience than using stages to sell those programs, sell those offers on the backside. So I'm super excited to dive into that second business model, selling programs, selling your intellectual property on the backside of stages. So how does somebody get started with this process if they're like, yes, this is totally what I was looking for, but I didn't actually know how to go about doing that?
Yeah, I love this topic so much because a lot of times I'm focused with people just on their talks and we don't even get to the point of them making the business on the back end. So I'm going to geek out with you today. So you know how I mentioned in a professional speaking model, you really need two things, the damn good talk and you need the system to book the stages. So when you're leveraging those stage opportunities, and let me just clarify, when I say a speaking opportunity or a stage opportunity, it could be you being paid to speak at a conference. It could be you coming into an organization, teaching a workshop. It also could be you speaking virtually, maybe for an organization, but also you might be going direct to your ideal clients and speaking at virtual summits or hosting your own events. A stage is simply a platform to share your message. So you have a lot of opportunities available for you. But to use speaking as a way to grow your business, you actually need three things in this business model. Number one, it's not just good enough to have a damn good talk. It doesn't matter if you're charismatic or you're a great storyteller. You have to have an effective talk, which means not only do you wow your audience and the client who booked you, but you have to ensure that you're driving demand and desire for your offers. So that's why you have to have an effective talk. That is number one. That's what I spend most of my time helping clients with, because most entrepreneurs, we believe we're really, really great speakers, but we're really good at getting praise. We're not good at organically driving sales from our messages. And I teach people how to be persuasive without being schmucky. So number one, effective talk. Number two, of course, you have to have a system to book talks. It's the same on both ends, but who you're booking, you're being a little bit more choosy and more intentional with the types of clients you're after. But then number three, you have to have a system on the back end for how you make money after your talk, because it's not just about your time on stage, it's what happens next. And part of that is what happens next for the audience. But a big part about speaking when you're an expert is you can make money through consulting, booking additional gigs. There are so many opportunities on the back end when you're booking corporate and organizations.
Yes. And licensing, and that's what we love to talk about, right? It's just selling your program, selling your consulting to the organization. So let me just repeat for our listeners what I just heard you say is that there are really two audiences that you actually get to sell to in business model of speaking number two. First of all, the audience, and second, the company that you're speaking for. And how powerful is that? So you really have two people that you can serve. So if somebody really wants to get started with this, what are some of the steps to build, first of all, the effective talk. So my question for you is, how important do you believe is it that their effective talk connects with the solution they provide and the offers that they're selling on the backside?
If you want to be effective in your selling, you want it to be very closely aligned. The more distant your stage topic is from your offer, the harder the hill you have to climb with your audience, and the longer the nurture window, and the more connection you have to create in terms of connecting the dots for them. But the closer aligned your solution is to what you're speaking about, the closer you are to your audience with them being aware of their problem. So I like to align those things. It's why what we do to build an effective talk for the majority of my clients, we build something called a signature talk, which very much coordinates with what you teach in your signature method. So what we do is we focus on how do we create the context for the signature solution so that people are excited about it. And that's what we do inside my program called the Signature Talk Accelerator, where we geek out over that. We obsess over it and say, how do you build the narrative in a way that gets people excited, and you're able to pitch it to organizations so that they see the benefit for them too.
Right. And it's so fascinating. I mean, when I talk to clients, I think there is so much confusion around people thinking, oh, I need that motivational talk. I need the one that feels so super good. And I really do think there's a disconnect between what you're saying, between an effective talk, and not that it's not motivational, not that it's not inspiring. Of course, it encompasses all those things, but you're bringing somebody through, would you call it that framework, and you're saying in their method of what they teach in that process. And I really think that it's just muddied waters a bit for people that just don't understand that if they do not have that framework extracted from their offer as part of their talk, they're working against themselves. I was actually just working with a client. I need to send her over to you. As I'm saying this, I'm realizing, oh my gosh, I need to make sure she's getting introduced to Heather. And she has an amazing program. She's working through a certification program. She's booked all the time on stages, and the talk that she has been giving for years, now that we have this program that we've built for her, right, it's totally the wrong talk. It's a great talk. She's known for this talk. She's getting booked for this talk, but now she really needs to pivot that.
Yeah. And she could probably keep it. So one of the things I talk about with my clients is you're going to have a speaking ecosystem. So your signature talk is the one that is most directly aligned with your offer. So that one there, and that's why I help clients. We start there because if you have a method or if you have a program, and if you don't have a method, see April, right? She helps with that. This is what you do, is we want to align those. A lot of people go, oh, I'm going to start with my signature talk and then I'm going to figure out what to sell. It's kind of ass backwards. I mean, you could do that, but you're going to be far more, again, the word is effective, if we start with what is the goal, what ultimately is the offer you want to be known for, what is the thing that you want to sell, and then we build your signature story and all of the messaging around that. But you also will have other talks. So for me, I'm still a professional speaker. That is part of the revenue in my business. I love speaking. I don't think that's ever going to go away. I have a variety of keynotes and workshops that I deliver that are not my signature. Now, the majority of them are connected back in some way to my signature talk because I want to be known for something. But let me give you an example here. I specifically work with entrepreneurs who have mostly online programs. So again, experts, coaches, consultants, educators. Now, with this type of business, I'm very specific in what I teach on speaking. However, when I work with organizations, I'm hired a lot by companies to come in to train their sales team, to come in and train their executives on more effective communication. Now, communication, giving presentations, that's really not the same for sales, like a sales force or an executive,
right.
But the principles of effective communication, they transfer. So I have talks that are modified that aren't completely different than what I do. But the point is, you can have multiple talks, but you want to know which ones are going to be the best money makers for your business on and off stage.
Fabulous. I love the ecosystem language around that. As you know, that's just awesome. Okay, so they have their talk, they have their framework, they have their outline of what they're going to speak on. And then the next step, you said that you need something after that. What comes after that, after you've booked that talk? What happens on the backside to actually sell the programs? What does that usually look like in your experience?
Well, a lot of times this starts actually well before the engagement itself. So we create our talk. I recommend for my clients is we practice, we book some low stakes talk that are not your ideal client that you're after. So we can hammer out the weird parts of your talk. People struggle with transitions, the stories, right? We have all that done, but let's say that you've booked an epic stage talk and now you're going, how do I make money on the back end? Well, the reality is most organizations, when you come in or conferences you speak at, they are not going to be a fan or allow to any capacity of you saying, here's my program.
Yeah.
Here's my offer. Selling from the stage
Right.
is a very unique thing. And what I'm finding with today's consumers, most people are turned off by it. And what you'll hear oftentimes is people are like, but it's so effective. And it is, but what we also find is consumers who purchase from those selling from the stage moments, they buy despite feeling kind of yucky about it. There is a high pressure stakes piece of it. So yes, it is effective. I've done it before. Multiple people have done it before, but you go with knowing that it might not be the best experience for the audience. Now I say that, I know a lot of people disagree with me. That's totally fine. But what I find with most of my clients is it works. And it's not always the most positive experience. Sometimes it is. There's like people like Brendon Burchard. He is phenomenal at it. However, I bought a 10K Brendon Burchard offer once, and I remember feeling like this was not, I don't feel great about it. Anyways, but I love the offer. I digress here. But going to the back end, your back end selling starts before the talk. So we talked about you have two audiences. You have the ultimate for the client audience or the people in there, and then you also have the client who booked you. So what I like to start out with is if you're having a pre-call with an organization, you're scoping what they're looking for. And I've taught your group this before, April, around how to lead these calls, around how you actually start gathering information from your client to understand.
She's so good at this, you guys. It's ridiculous. It's like
It's
ninja skills. It's insane. Sorry,
So
go ahead.
this
Yes.
is where, no, it's great. Thank you. You could say more nice things all the time.
Yeah, like she's incredible at it. It's crazy. My
Most
clients are so
people-
powered up.
Oh yeah. Most people, they go into these inquiry calls like thinking like, oh, I want to get the information so I can pitch.
Right.
I want to understand the scope and the context so I can offer a bigger transformation. That's how I go through it. So I ask the questions I need for my specific talk, but I'm also asking rooted questions around what is the overall impact in this organization? What is the bigger picture for the people in the audience? I want to know context because context allows me to paint a bigger picture for them. Because 9 times out of 10, well, probably 10 times out of 10, most meeting organizers or HR professionals, when they book you, they are filling a spot for a conference.
Right.
They're not thinking, oh, your program would be amazing for our fleet of salespeople. Like they're not really thinking there. Their job, their scope is the meeting planner or the HR person to bring in people for this one training event. That's like point blank, that's what they're focused on. However, if you have a conversation with them and even nod to the fact that this goes in alignment with your program, and in fact, most of your clients you work with, you end up working with them on a more long-term basis through consulting or through your program licensed out for them. You can drop these breadcrumbs in your planning conversations with them on a very soft nod, and you normalize it by saying how you typically work with clients, which opens up the door often when you're on site with them at an event. This is how I used to book speakers. We'd bring them in because we were auditioning them and we had spots to fill. But the ones who our audiences went bananas over that, you better believe I took them to lunch, asked more follow-up questions, and those often led to multiple 6-figure contracts for those people consulting in an organization. So you never know what'll lead, but you do not wait until that you step off stage to start selling. It starts way at the beginning, at the start of the relationship.
Oh, this is so powerful. And it's a different thought process. It's about being very proactive and not shooting from the hip and being incredibly strategic about the steps in the time that you take in every moment that you have with a potential organization, a potential buyer, a potential client, which again is of course the audience that's listening. But I really love in this conversation here, we're honing in on the company side of it. And one of the things that you have said when you've come in and work with our clients that are licensing their products and selling their programs to companies, is being a great listener. And this is not what we're talking about on this show, but the feedback that our clients, when they leave one of your master teachings in our ecosystem, is, wow, I'm not being a good enough listener. I haven't been a good enough listener, or I haven't really, like you were saying, understand what their bigger picture is. What words did you say? I think you said understanding the greater mission of the organization, not just the micro mission of the spot they are trying to fill as a speaker. I think that's so powerful.
It's critical. And I think there's a lot of things that go into this, but one of the biggest misconceptions people have with speaking is that it's your responsibility to stand up on a stage and grab the mic, and it's your moment to share whatever's on your heart, whatever message, what do you want to know? And that works if you're trying to become a motivational or inspirational speaker, or there's a lot of very successful athletes or celebrities with a story. They have a story to share, and that's great. But again, we're not speaking for just monetizing that time on stage. We're business owners, and there is a bigger mission we have. And it's not just about making money. I think this is the critical takeaway here to connect back with listening. The people that I work with, they genuinely want to help solve the problems they were put on this earth to solve. Yes. They know that what they have to do, there are people who need it, and they feel the sense of duty to teach it in a way that are going to reach these people. Now, the dichotomy that we have here is because we have to play expert role, we think that we have to know everything and therefore share everything with a prospect in front of us or people on stage. But your most powerful connection and sales tool is to listen. You need to understand what types of questions should you be asking so that people open up to you. One of the most important parts of sales calls, whether it's booking for a stage or you're selling your licensing deal, is you need to understand what questions you can ask to help the person in front of you better understand their own problem. And if you take anything away from this interview, rewind back that 10 seconds, because if you can learn how to do that, which is what I do all the time, that right there, you become the linchpin for that organization where they're like, oh, you're pointing out things that we weren't even aware of. But yes, organizations, they want to pay to solve the immediate pain, but what they really want is they want to solve the root problems. The problem is they do not understand what those are, and that's where you come in.
Powerful. That is something that people don't talk about enough, and I know that we're super lucky to tap into your genius at our company, and now our listeners can tap into you again. So in summary, there are two types of speaking business models. Number one, it's the business of being a speaker, getting paid to speak, very well known. People understand this business model. I think people are scared of this business model. And frankly, that business model personally to me doesn't sound great at all. That sounds not, especially as you were explaining how far in advance you were booked to speak. My goodness, for people that are really looking for time control and time freedom, that is not an ideal business model. And then we have this other one, which is the ecosystem of speaking and the offers that you sell on the backside. And you said the importance of having not necessarily a heartfelt, motivational type of a talk, but an effective talk that's connected to the offers and the solutions that you provide on the backside. And then the process, this is so powerful, you guys. Seriously, like you should rewind this and please share this episode on social media with your friends. Maybe don't share it with your competition. Just share it with your friends. Is listening in these conversations. And can you say that one more time before we end? When you help them understand. Finish that.
If you understand the context of their problem, if you help them start seeing really what the environment is around their product and not just sitting in the pain of the annoyance, it's a game changer because they start trusting you. Because here's what your competition does is they go through and they ask the generic questions to unearth you're struggling with this? Yep. Check the box. Oh yeah, you want this? Yep. Okay, check. I have pain. Check. I have desire. Check. I have ultimate time frame. Check. I have budget. So then they pitch back, okay, cool. You said this. I think this. Here's what we should do. Point and done. But when you get good at asking questions, when you ask them some more contextual things, and I'm not saying go into their life story, like we're not going to go into their childhood trauma and like understand this, but they're very pointed, intentional questions that I teach my clients. It's what we're doing is we're raising their level of awareness to their own problem. And when you do that, you instantly put yourself in a different category from your competitor, because they see you not as someone who's just a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am speaker, where you're coming in for a paid gig to get in and get out.
Right.
You actually care about the results and the impact your message has for their clients, their audience, their employees, whoever their group is. When you demonstrate that by taking the time to ask pointed questions, you become more valuable.
Boom, mic drop right there. Thank you so much for being back again on the show and for your giving first and all the ways that you do that, not only in our community, but I know in so many places that you do that online. If you guys are not following Heather, please make sure that you are following her and cruise over to heathersager.com. Heather, how are you working with clients right now, out of curiosity? But if you're listening to this in 2 years, guys, it might not be the same.
The website's the best place to keep up to date. You get the podcast, The Hint of Hustle. That's a great place to go right now if you're like, ooh, I like her fire. I'm like this every week on my show. So Hint of Hustle is where you can find me. But I'm working with clients these days. I've really honed in and I focus primarily with the starting point for every successful speaking business, right? Making money through speaking is having a damn good signature talk. So I've taken all of my training that I've been doing for the last 5 years plus. I've been speaking on stages for the last 20 years, but I've taken all of my programs that I've actually simplified it into one 3-day accelerator to help experts get their story, get their effective message, get everything out of their head into what we call a shitty rough draft. So you have that version we can work from. You go deliver a beta talk, we get feedback, we work on it together. But that is the best way, my favorite way that I'm working with clients right now. So you can find all about that on my website to see when the next time is coming up. And if we're not teaching that live, there'll be an alternative for that. But getting your signature talk down, that is the place to start.
When you texted me that 3-day accelerator, I was like, oh my gosh, this is fire. That's what all of us want, right? To get solutions fast.
Yes.
So I don't have it. It makes me want to have a 3-day accelerator now.
It blew my mind. We just taught it a couple months ago, and within a number of hours, we were getting posts from people that they were already having wins. They were already booking talks just from the micro time we had spent together. It blew my mind. I've been working with clients for years, and the volume of transformations we've gotten out of this 3-day accelerator is just, I'm like, all right, rinse and repeat. We're just going to keep doing it this way, baby.
Love it, love it, love it. Well, thank you so much for just being so rad and just being who you are and bringing all your smarts from all of your decades of experience in sales and working with companies and consulting companies and teaching people how to kill it from the stage and build a profitable business on the backside. We absolutely love you and appreciate you. Again, all of the show notes will be found over at sweetlifeco.com. We will include all of the links for this episode so you guys can connect with Heather. Thank you so much, my friend. All right, you guys, let's wrap up this episode here. Isn't Heather awesome? Again, cruise over to heathersager.com. We are big fans, and as you know, I bring Heather in to work with our clients who are licensing their programs and trying to sell their courses to companies, organizations, and other small businesses. So what are your action items here after this? What is the first thing you're going to do? Oftentimes you can listen to a podcast episode and there's so many great things and you're not really sure where to start. So let's start by asking yourself this. Is this business model, so the speaking to sell your programs model, one that you're interested in, one that you've been looking for the solution to? You've been looking for a while. If that answer is yes, then hey, let's go ahead and take it to the next step. Do we have your products created? Do we have your courses, your trainings created in a way that they give people guaranteed transformation? So if you don't, then you can cruise over to where we are at sweetlifeco.com and we will help you build your transformational $1 million programs. And then the third part of that is, if you are really interested in diving into learning this business model of speaking, unpacking your ideas out of your head. I don't know about you, but I can help other people unpack their ideas. But when it comes to my own, especially when it comes to my signature talk, it's really hard for me to see it. It's like a lot of smoke in the air. It's always harder for me to see my own things than it is. So I go to people like Heather for help in this area. So Heather's amazing, and you can find her programs over at Heather Sager, it's Sagar, at heathersager.com. And of course, we will give all of the resources on the show notes for that, and they can be found at sweetlifeco.com. This is episode number 290. And as we mentioned, it is a perfect pair with licensing your program to other companies and one of the many powerful tools that we have to sell your programs. So if that's what you're interested in, you are certainly in the right place. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. I hope you got as much out of this as I know that I did. I always have notes after I leave listening to Heather speak. She is just a rock star, as I'm sure you can tell. And cruise over on social media and tell Heather hello, as well as sharing this episode. We'd really appreciate that. All right, you guys have an awesome week. I will talk to you next week. Cruise over on YouTube and you can see our video podcast as well now. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.